Hello, good evening and welcome to News 360 here from the News Hub at Adisawe, Kanda. I'm Natalie Ford. And
my name is Alfred Okanse. Coming up in the next 60 minutes tonight.
News 360 Headlines is brought to you by
Gas explosion in Tamale leaves one person dead and 3 others injured.
Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia orders the arrest of individuals and agencies who paraded as national security operatives at the ports.
Also in the bulletin, Accra Metropolitan Assembly issues 21-day ultimatum to evict squatters and demolish illegal structures on East Legon Greenbelt.
Authorities in northern Nigeria state of Kano raise alarm over high rape cases against minors.
We have the details of these stories as well as the very latest from the world of business, sports and entertainment in the next hour. Stay with us. You're watching News 360. This is where we start off this evening. A gas explosion at the industrial area in Tamale in the northern region has left one person dead and 4 others injured. 4 others who were injured were rushed to the Tamale hospital for treatment.
The explosion is reported to have occurred at noon inside a mechanic shop at the industrial area. The deceased, an apprentice mechanic who was working on a truck, was burnt beyond recognition. The blaze destroyed property of some workers and residents close by.
And the place was very dusty, so I came out to see, because we realized that there was a gas explosion down there. And it's not a pleasant scene.
Some electrical cables were also ripped off, cutting power supply to the area at the time of filing the report.
From Tamale, let's go to the Ashanti region, where the Attorney General has dropped all charges against 8 members of the Delta Force accused of storming the KMA Circuit Court in Kumasi to free their colleagues who were standing trial. The AG says it had advised prosecution to discontinue the case for want of evidence. Here's a report by William Evans Inkum.
The 8 were on trial for aiding the escape of their colleagues who were standing trial for attacking a public officer on April 6 at the KMA Circuit Court. The prosecutor at the last adjourned date told the court that the Attorney General had taken delivery of the docket and needed time to study, praying for an adjournment, which was subsequently granted by the presiding judge, Ms. Patricia Amponsa. On Wednesday, May 17, the prosecutor, ACP Ochudaku, told the court that the AG could not find substantial evidence to prosecute the 8 accused persons. Presiding judge, Patricia Amponsa, granted the request and discharged all the accused persons. Saliu, the leader of the Delta Force, described the ruling as a vindication of their innocence. When I was coming to court, I had all the conviction that my boys were clean. I was not surprised, though, that they were let off the hook. A member of the legal team for the accused persons, Frederick Kankambodi, expressed his satisfaction on the ruling.
We always take a positive outlook to the justice delivery system. Like I said, on the last agenda date, when they requested for time to do their proper investigations, we insisted that we're not in any way shortchanged or disadvantaged, because it is in the interest of our clients that they do proper investigations and ascertain the basic facts. So we assume the positive outlook, and it appears that has paid off.
And the minority in Parliament is demanding the 8 persons of Delta Force who were freed at a Kumasi court be rearranged to serve the interest of justice. At a news conference in Accra, Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu said the decision to free the accused persons is an invitation to lawlessness in the country.
The minority in Parliament accused government of pandering to partisan pressure at the cost of justice delivery and respect for the rule of law. The group also said the decision to free the 8 accused persons undermines the integrity of the judiciary.
It undermines not just the integrity of the judicial organ of state, but we are concerned about the security of the state. The judge that was intimidated have a right to life and have a right to freely work in an environment that is secured.
The minority leader Haruna Idrisu said in his view the culprits qualify to be charged, adding the action by the court to free the 8 accused persons of the Delta Force is an invitation to lawlessness. He wondered why the Attorney General would say there is no evidence to the case when videos of the action of the accused were all over in social media.
Abba, lack of evidence, even on Facebook, even on Twitter, and those of you who do social media, some evidence is available, and some evidence can be made available, and some evidence can be found. So we are encouraging them to gather good enough evidence. To say that they are proceeding on nolle prosequa in want of evidence can only be begging the issue.
The minority urged the president to demonstrate that he truly adheres to the rule of law.
We demand, therefore, that the councillor's discretion that has just been exercised will be reversed immediately and the accused rearrested and rearranged before court.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Information is saying that the Attorney General's Department is investigating circumstances under which a principal state attorney in Kumasi decided without recourse to advice from higher authority on a matter of high public interest of this nature to drop charges against persons arrested in connection with disturbances in a Kumasi Magistrate Court in April this year. Now, the issue coming up in a statement, the Ministry of Information says that preliminary investigations suggest that the decision was taken without recourse even to the Director of Public Prosecutions and may amount to a breach of internal procedures on matters of this nature. The statement noted that while the department awaits the full results of this investigation, it would like to reiterate its commitment to ensuring that the rule of law is applied at all times and persons found culpable of any breaches that bring the work and commitment of the Attorney General's Department into disrepute will be sanctioned and the appropriate remedies adopted in the interest of the Republic of Ghana. Let's stay a bit further with that. I've been joined in studio by lawyer Kojoga Dawodo. He's a legal practitioner and also a member of the NDC. Thank you. Good evening to you. It's pretty interesting that this development is coming where the Attorney General is saying that this decision was taken without recourse to the laid down structures that has to go through. I find out your thoughts about this.
I think it's interesting that the statement has made it that the Attorney General doesn't even know anything about this nolle prosequa or the Director of Public Prosecution. I think it calls more to be investigated into this matter. Now, what is nolle prosequa? When we say it, this is a legal terminology or a Latin word. When it's a power that is granted to the Attorney General, that Attorney General can come to court, especially with prosecution, criminal matters, right, and say that I'm not interested in the matter or I'm not going to prosecute the people again. And the law says that don't even give any reason to the judge or anybody
when a nolle prosequa order is issued. So does it shield them of any future prosecutions? I mean, now that the minority stop calling about for the rearrest of these persons.
If with a reportage, I'm being a little bit careful because we've not seen the certified proceeding that went on in court. It's just bits and pieces of information we are getting from the media. If they had been discharged and not acquitted, then that would mean that they can always be rearrested. But if it is you are acquitted, you've gone through the process, you've been acquitted, that would mean that you cannot be rearrested. That would be a double jeopardy. That would mean that you are being punished twice for the same offense. But if you are just discharged because of want of prosecution, it means that anytime they have their evidence and others, they can still come back and rearrest you. But
would you say that the charges preferred against them were porous in nature, and that's why the AG would give such a directive or this particular order for a discontinuation of this particular case?
You see, that's the difficulty that sometimes within the Attorney General and the police. Who prefers the charges? It's the police who prefer charges.
Sure.
They look at the code and prefer the charges.
Absolutely.
Now, when they prefer the charges, they determine what element or what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Attorney General is the duty of the Attorney General, but she has delegated that duty to the police. So in records, they would always refer to the Attorney General. Now, the duty is also imposed on the state to do investigations and prosecute. They decide to call anybody who is a witness. And you cannot decide that this person should be brought before court to give evidence. So they can decide to do a shabby job, check their responsibility, or do their work without fear or favor.
But could this ruling or this outcome today have been any different, considering the fact that the language of the court is evidence, and the judge in ruling said that the state put in this nolle prosequi because of want of evidence? And if there is a lack of evidence, then how can the court proceed in prosecuting these 8 persons when there is nothing to hold them to?
Yes, that is a power that has been given to the Attorney General, that even if there is evidence, which I believe that the minority was making some comments about that even on social media and others, it is the evidence. So what was the process of gathering the evidence? So it means that the police or the security, in gathering their evidence, there were some flaws. That should be it, because Attorney General do not go and do the evidence, gathering the evidence. They come and the Attorney General directs them that go and look at specific issues and get more information from it.
So we should be asking a lot more questions from the police. I mean, in this instance. Let me go onto the telephone, and I've been joined on the telephone by Emmanuel Swarte. He is a security analyst. Mr. Swarte, good evening to you, if you can hear me, and thank you for joining us in the discussion. But the question then is, to the extent that there was a video footage that was captured partially of what happened with these persons who stormed the court, captured the voices and faces of certain persons in the video that went viral. The police has custody of that video, made analysis of that video, but went on to arrest persons who were not present at the scene of that particular crime. What do you say of the police's investigations into this?
Okay, thank you so much. I don't know whether I've had opportunity of identifying all those who you said were captured in the video, vis-a-vis those who were presented. I'm saying that because, you see, I criticize the Ghana Police Service when I have to. But there are times that we also may have to refer to them, fair in the sense that sometimes the politicians would know that the police service will not openly come and contradict what they've said. And sometimes the politicians would use that opportunity to actually run down the police. Let me explain what I mean by that. Until you talk to the police, and until such a time that we see the docket that the police, the dossier that the police sent to the AG, we might be unfair. Why am I saying that? You see, depending on the context, sometimes the investigations and the recommendations, the actors identify the route, and all the evidence you need might start from, depending on the context, might start from a police post or go to a police station, depending on the context, as it is rising and it gains publicity in the media, it might go to the district commander, divisional commander, region, and the headquarters. Okay.
Right.
Sometimes when you trace the history of the dossier, you realize that the police may sometimes do very thorough professional work at the first level, maybe depending on the context, maybe a district level. You might realize that the crime officer, having input from his district commander, will do a very perfect work. And that work at that level is done with a calculus or a formula that looks at only purely criminal issues. The role of active political party consideration will not sometimes factor prominently in there. So, for example, let me break it down. You have 5 variables. So you have various permutations and various scenarios, various recommendations. At that time, the 5 variables will not include a heavy dose of active partisan political consideration. And so you see a very good professional picture being emerging out of that analysis at that level. But then as the issue gains prominence, and then the political considerations are brought in, sometimes you have 5 variables. And then a professional person will give weight to the variables, maybe 25, 25, 5, 5, 10. But when political consideration comes in, you realize that political consideration might take maybe 80 or 70% of the weight. And then the other other professional considerations become like a small fraction
of the whole equation.
The whole picture.
Okay,
thank you. When the issue then gets to ages, or when it comes outside, then the politicians will then want to massage it. But the politicians sometimes would know that the police will not openly take them on.
Okay, thank you.
And that is where the danger lies.
Great.
The danger lies there because, I'm concluding, that in as much as we have to criticize the police, and I will do that, we should look at the dossier, and that is where investigative journalism plays a key role. We have to look at the dossier that has been generated by the police. And they would know, that the investigations component, these parts were weak, the recommendations, these parts were strong, these parts were weak, and then we hold people accountable. Until we do that,
we cannot put the police away. Thank you very much. Emmanuel Soate is a security analyst joining us on this. So finally, Mr. Lawyer Dawood, now the minority is calling for a rearrest of these persons, these 8 who have been discharged. Now the police is unable to adduce evidence to pin down these 8. So the call for rearrest, some will say, will still come back to square one if there's no evidence to pin them down as part of the persons who stormed the court, because they are not captured even in the video.
I believe that the reason why the minority may be asking that is that, yes, if even with the statement that has been issued from Ministry of Information, that the person who gave the advice do not have that capacity to do that. You know, in law, it is the Attorney General or her authorized person who is a senior person will be the person who can endorse or sign the nolle prosequa. So already they themselves are disputing.
So there's a fundamental legal flaw.
There's a flaw on that. 2, so if they look at it and it's not something properly that was done, and they have been only discharged because of want of prosecution, then they can't be rearrested. Now, if it is properly done and it's a nolle prosequa, you cannot do anything unless you have to challenge it and look at the Constitution, because you will see that provision is inconsistent with the provisions of the Constitution.
Thank you, lawyer.
It's always been a pleasure.
Grateful. He is a legal practitioner helping us to understand all of these and what's coming up. So away from this, President Akufo-Addo is saying that government is devising strategies to deal with the $2.4 billion debt in the power sector inherited from the previous administration, while implementing effective policies to revive the economy. Speaking to Ghanaian community in Dakar, Senegal, the president assured the people government has created the opportunity for the private sector to grow.
The president was meeting with the Ghanaian community in Senegal on his second day of his 3-day visit to the country. President Akufo-Addo told the gathering government had initiated measures to deal with corruption and to turn the fortunes of the country around.
The biggest single problem our economy is facing, a 2.4 million indebtedness in our energy sector. That is the debt overhang. We are determined to turn around the fortunes of Ghana. Ghana should not be a poor nation. We are not a poor nation. May I refuse the description of Ghana as a poor country.
He said government had created the enabling environment for the private sector to operate and grow.
Our attitude has been, let us do whatever we can to strengthen the private sector in Ghana so that we can work and create jobs, especially for our young people. A whole over 1 billion cedis of revenue in taxes has been taken away from the public exchequer in order for that money to stay in the private sector and get the private sector to pick up and move forward.
President Akufo-Addo has since left for Guinea to continue with his ECOWAS tour.
Still watching News 360, let's now take a look at how the weather will be faring this evening through till tomorrow morning.
Still to come tonight. The Accra Metropolitan Assembly issues 21-day ultimatum to evict squatters and demolish illegal structures on East Legon Greenbelt.
And on the international front, authorities in the northern Nigerian state of Kano raise alarm over high rape cases against minors. We'll be back with the details of these stories and the very latest from the world of business. Stay with us.
All right, so I'm here again with business. Good evening, and still News 360, but let's look at some latest business updates. My name is Nanikia Mensah Brampa. Starting with tonight's from our ports, the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, has ordered the arrest of individuals and agencies who parade as national security operatives at the ports. The directive is intended to reduce the human interface and block leakages in the clearing of goods at the port.
Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia gave the directive at a forum organized by the presidency on making the port efficient and competitive. Stakeholders at the forum recalled the delays in going through documentation and the human interface in clearing goods at the port. Figures from the Ports and Harbors Authority indicate that in 2016, importers spent $100 million in demurrage charges alone in clearing goods. In 2013, importers paid $75 million again as demurrage charges before clearing their goods. The Vice President, during deliberations, described those charges as punitive.
This is not the kind of revenue we want to build this country. It is a punitive cost, an inefficiency cost. It is an avoidable cost, and it only goes to demonstrate that shippers are not releasing containers to shipping lines in good time.
He emphasized on the need to strengthen the automation systems at the ports to reduce bottlenecks, but charged national security to arrest those parading as officers at the ports.
Plethora of agencies all around the place, and you are being stopped by people sometimes who describe themselves. I don't know if they are actually national security, but national security has to look. They are all over the place.
The Vice President again underscored the relevance of creating adequate job opportunities at the ports for the teeming youth.
Even the people working in customs, they come to me and say, I want a transfer. Where do you want to go? I want to go to the port. So there must be something that is happening there And if people are making additional revenues, it means government is not getting those revenues.
The Minister of Transport, Kweko Foresiama, assured adequate expansion works at the port.
Investment in port infrastructure will not lead to achieving the desired objective if they are not complemented by improved and efficient measures on the operational side of the port's processes.
Other speakers charged government to implement the recommendations of the forum.
Right now to one of our developing stories. The Public Utility Regulatory Workers Union called off a planned protest for the removal of its Executive Secretary, Engineer Samuel Sapong, earlier today. Now this follows some assurances from the Bureau of National Investigations, the BNI, and the Energy Ministry to investigate allegations of financial malfeasance leveled against top officials of the Commission.
Agitating workers of the PURC displayed red bands and pictures of the Executive Secretary, Engineer Samuel Sapong, demanding his removal. Chairman of the Public Utility Workers Union, Jabari Abubakar, met with the Energy Minister today as part of efforts to calm down workers. The head of public relations at the PURC, Nanaya Jantwa, has resigned her post effective November 2017. She has applied to take her accumulated leave before her resignation in November. The management members of the commission, Nanaya Jantwa and Engineer Samuel Sapong, were recently detained and interrogated by the BNI on allegations of financial malfeasance.
And away from that, shareholders of oil exploration company Tullow Ghana for 2 consecutive times have not received dividends from the company. Now, according to managers of the company, falling crude oil prices made the year under review a challenging one for the oil and gas industry, and that affected production.
The news of no dividends did not go down well with shareholders who were at the annual investor forum in Accra. Management is confident in making massive progress in the coming years. With a target to expand exploration in addition to the 10 project, Tullow hopes to make some profit, pay off debts and begin to pay dividends to shareholders.
At the end of 2014, where oil price dropped dramatically, we thought it was appropriate to maintain the liquidity of the company to suspend the dividend. And so each year we look at the appropriateness of continuing that suspension or starting to repay. At the end of 2016, when the board looked at it, we decided that it was appropriate to continue the suspension of the dividend given the continued uncertainty within the oil price and the industrial environment.
The group CEO for Tullow, Paul McDade, said remarkable progress continues to be made across West Africa with strong production from oil fields.
Beyond our development and production assets, we're getting back to exploration. So for the last 2.5 years, we haven't been drilling the big impact wells that found us Ghana, that found Kenya, that found Uganda. But we're about to start again.
The managing director of the company, Charles Dakon, said the 10 on-stream project has successfully been delivered. The forecast average gross production for 2017 is 50,000 barrels daily, with production work optimization ongoing.
With 10, it's in this area where we have this maritime dispute with Cote d'Ivoire, and as a result of that and the moratorium that was placed on drilling, we haven't been able to drill any new wells over the last since production started. So we're looking to resume drilling as soon as the ruling is given.
The company is securing stable long-term production with significant resource base underpinning project production and targeting Greater Jubilee Full Field Development Plan approval this year. Tullow Ghana also seeks to commence drilling early next year and increase reserves.
Right, and this is evident when you visit the commodity market to see exactly how price of oil is trading on the market. We've had prices seesawing from last week till today. It hit $49 for last 2 weeks, and well, it looked as good sign for us here back home in Ghana. But it looks like prices are once again edging higher as the U.S. oil inventory continues to fall. So let's quickly check out how it looks like on the world markets now. up above the $50 mark there on the world market. $50, I'm sure it hits, yeah, so $51.65 a barrel of oil now, and see that percentage change of 0.3%. Not too much there, but well, it is evident that if prices edge higher, oil inventories would fall again. But back home, once again here in Ghana, we have fuel prices going down again in the second pricing window. But exactly what is accounting for the fuel prices going down, I'll be giving you more detail into that in subsequent bulletins. But that will do for business now. My name is Nanikia Mensah Abrampa. Let's go back to Natalie and Alfred.
Absolutely. I think this is good news.
Yeah.
That fuel prices are going down
yes.
as we speak. But the consistency is important. And the quantum of reduction is also important.
Right. And I'm sure we'll be getting more detail into that particular one later.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Anaika. Let's go on to some of the stories. The Accra Metropolitan Assembly has issued a 21-day ultimatum to evict squatters and demolish illegal structures sited on the East Legon Green Belt. The move is part of plans by the city authorities to reclaim all encroached government lands.
In 2009, the Residents Association of East Legon took the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Nungwa Stool, Lands Commission and all developers to court to reclaim all lands that has been encroached upon on the East Legon Green Belt. The court then ruled in favor of the Residents Association, but several attempts by city authorities to reject the illegal developers have proved futile. The new Accra Metropolitan Chief Executive Mohamed Ejesoa led a task force to give a final warning to the developers.
The land in question, a reserved land for the motorway expansion. The land in question is reserved land, and they have to leave here within the next 3 weeks. That's by 7 June. We will come here with full force to demolish all the structures here.
The MC said similar exercises will be undertaken to reclaim all encroached government lands.
The city authority has made several moves, but it's a continuous process. The fiscal planning director at the moment has taken stock of all the open spaces in the city of Accra, and we are coming out with a development scheme for it so that we protect all the open spaces.
The 21-day ultimatum ends on June 7th.
We have more of that on our website, 3news.com. You're watching News360. Remember, this bulletin is streaming live on 3news.com as well as News on TV3 on Facebook. Return with more news shortly. Stay with us.
Good evening and welcome back to News 360 here on TV3. My name is Anako Jafre with the sport update, and let's begin from the Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations, where Ghana is through to the Under-17 World Cup in India next year after qualifying for the semi-final of the Under-17 Africa Championship in Gabon. The Starlets dispatched their Gabonese counterparts to reach the semi-finals of the Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations. Captain Eric Eya opened the scoring from the spot early on in the first half to set up the Starlets on a path to a resounding 5-0 victory. Ghana's diminutive number 10, Emmanuel Toku, bagged a brace on the night and won the Man of the Match award in a game that could possibly give the lot of Ghanaians hope of finally picking up the AFCON trophy at the level for the first time in many years. Let's move on to our next story now, where Ghana will follow the lead of Nigeria and Ivory Coast and actively pursue players in Europe with Ghanaian roots to play for the Black Stars. New Black Stars coach Kwesi Appiah says he has already earmarked about 8 names that the Ghana Football Association will work in order to expand the talent pool available to the team for future assignment.
Appiah says one of his key priorities after agreeing a 2-year deal is to build a new team with depth and options, and part of that strategy is to draw from the Ghanaian community abroad. Appiah refused to expand on names, but TV3 Sports understands top of that list is Manchester United defender Tim Fosu-Mensah, who is also eligible to play for the Netherlands. Iñaki Williams of Athletic Bilbao, who was born in Spain to a Ghanaian father and a Liberian mother, as well as 22-year-old Hamburg defensive midfielder Gideon Jong, born in Germany to Ghanaian parents.
It's always important that you create a team where
there's a lot of competition in the team itself. You know, once that is done, automatically you get a very good team. You know, not today, not tomorrow, but on long-term basis.
Ghana Football Association Vice President George Afriye says the process of convincing players to play for Ghana has been a long-standing one.
The most important thing is the quality. Once we think that the quality merits what the coach is looking for and all that, we as administrators will do the facilitation and do the engagement to see whether really the person is interested. In recent times, we've met the parents of Inaki Williams and all that. And so we will go our way to make sure that if these players are available and they are willing to play for Ghana, why not? We'll do that.
Those who back the approach say it's the necessary step to stock up the talent level available to the team here, as many of the present players struggle for exposure in the big leagues. And some of the players appear is hoping to pursue have big league exposure and age on their side. Jung, for instance, is 22 and has already made 33 appearances for Hamburg this season in all competitions, including 26 in the Bundesliga. The Ghana Football Association will face one major hurdle though, which will be to convince the players their integration will be smooth given the high-profile disputes with players of similar backgrounds like Kevin Prince Boateng and Adam Larsen Kwarase.
Meanwhile, among the targets set for Apia is for him to qualify and win AFCON 2019. The FS have received criticism from the public for setting what they call high standards for the new coach. But Vice President George Afriye says it is the FA's obligation to set the highest possible targets for any coach who handles the Black Stars.
I don't see why one would say it's not a realistic target. You are talking of the Black Stars. This is not a club side. It's a national team A. And you all know the pedigree of Ghana football. Irrespective of some of the bad results that we've had recent times, we still remain a semi-finalist for the last 6 AFCON. And so, are you expecting us to take Apia to, if we exit in the first round, we are okay with it? No. We are saying that qualify Ghana to the next AFCON. I don't see why one would say this is not realistic. To qualify to the next AFCON, especially when the numbers have been increased and all that, I think that is a realistic target. To win, yes. Now, when it comes to the World Cup, obviously we all know that so far we've played 2 matches and that we are lying maybe last from bottom, and so therefore that is a very difficult situation. So we said, employ your best possible best. I think that we were not being too difficult. And
let's do some tennis before we wrap up, where Rafa Nadal's winning streak extended to 16 matches, with Nicolas Almagro retiring in the first set earlier today at the Italian Open. Nadal was leading 3-0 in the first set when Almagro bent over and grabbed his left knee. Almagro got some medical attention at his chair but quickly retired from the second round match. Nadal has won consecutive clay court tournaments in Monte Carlo, Barcelona and Madrid. He is aiming for title number 8 in Italy as he prepares for the French Open, which starts in less than 2 weeks. Nadal will next face either 13th-seeded Jack Sock or Jiří Veselý of the Czech Republic. That's all the sports here on News 360. My name is Anako Jaffe. Thanks very much for watching. Always a pleasure serving you. Good evening and stay with us here.
In entertainment news this evening, renowned reggae dancehall artist Grams Morgan says Ghana's dancehall act Shatta Wale needs more discipline. The Grammy Award winner said though Shatta Wale is undoubtedly one of the biggest artists in Ghana, at the moment he needs the right attitude to hit the international mark.
Grams Morgan says Shatta Wale is a born star who needs direction to make it to the global scene. The co-founder of dancehall group Morgan Heritage, who is known for his fondness for Stonebwoy, said though he's yet to meet and have a conversation with a taking-over composer, he believes Shatta has potential.
Yeah, Shatta Wale is a star, without a doubt or apology. There's a couple of rough edges we have to clean up, but that is not a problem. These are the things that people need to see in Africa and guide them, because a lot of them is just off of their own strength and off of their own development.
He says some musicians needed support to be able to match international artists boot for boot.
Desire to learn, an open mind. If you think you know it all, there's no way you can put more water in a cup that is already full. It is impossible. That's one of the biggest things for a young musician.
Talking about his upcoming album, Abracadabra, which features the likes of Nigeria's Tamaya and Stonebwoy, Grams Morgan said the launch will be done in Ghana and a follow-up tour to some selected African countries. He advised musicians to ensure professionalism in their career so they can make the best out of it.
Well, rough edges of Shatta Wale, everybody has an opinion, well shared. But residents of Tema and its environs will have the opportunity of a live audience viewing of Do Not Love Me So Much this Friday. The telenovela, which is one of TV3's many entertainment pieces and has received massive public viewership,